What's the difference between what you do and what the modern day doctor does?
The doctors will ask for your symptoms and how have you been feeling and what seems to be wrong with you at what times and so on. First, we try to determine whether your illness is psychosomatic or a real physical thing that's going wrong with you. Then we gain a rapport with that inner consciousness of the client. And then we tell the client what's wrong with them. We don't ask for symptoms. And there's the difference. And the MD will ask what's wrong with you and things like that. We tell them what's wrong with you without asking.
Could modern day doctors learn something from you?
Oh yeah, anyone can, to learn to communicate in that way. And,
I want to take a step back. Tell me about, you told us about the incident where you were being tested as a young man. Tell me about the snake incident, if you would, one more time.
The snake medicine, that's where it comes in handy, and I'm not at liberty to tell you just in what way it can be used, but a snake seemed to have a hypnotic effect. You're walking along and see a snake, all of a sudden it startles you, and it kind of sends chills through your body, and hair stand on your back, and you don't really react by jumping or running or whatever. You just stay there. It has that kind of an effect on you. And that's part of it. And I was taught this song. And to test the power of that song, my teacher said, I want you to come on your third day of fasting. So I went over there, and he took me out in the country, and then he had me to take my shoes and socks off. And he carried them on around and said, come straight to me after the fourth time that I began that same song, then start coming over. And I went over the little hill, and down below was a lot of rattlesnakes. And they were just out, ready to strike at any time. But I kept singing. And towards the end was the biggest rattlesnake I had ever seen. He said, now I want you to pat him 4 times on the head before you come up. So that's what I did, pat him 4 times. That's to break the kind of trance that I had placed on those snakes with that song, so that it would revert back normally, and the trance will not, will be broken.
That was a test you must have passed.
That was a test. Yeah, I must have, because I'm still here.
Tell me what medicine men, I think most people look at this and think, what kind of role could they fill in modern day society? What do you do here? I mean, what kind of role do you see for yourself in modern day society?
First, I am a father, a husband, and a grandfather. And then I have an extended family of people through our Indian way of adoption. I have many relatives all over the countryside. I look at myself as a spiritual leader rather than some big sounding name like a medicine man and so on. I hate to look at myself as a medicine man. I don't make medicine. The medicine's already here, and how we use it, take care of it. And there are a lot of people that would like to be called a medicine man. And there's a supermarket type of training that they do. They pay you so much, and somebody tells them, now you're a medicine man, without ever going through the kind of testing that I've gone through in our traditional way. But I don't say anything. If that's their way of life, okay, but I go around with a concern in my heart for people to be aware that each person has something great to offer, something good, something positive. And from the smallest infant to the oldest person, I look at them as a human being that our Creator made. I don't care what color. They have life within. And I try to live in such a way that I can enhance within that person the desire to do their very best in whatever it is that they do.
What can we learn from what could modern day society, what lesson could they take away from what the kind of life you lead and the kind of stuff you practice?
I think to take time out once in a while in this dog-eat-dog world with a helicopter type of society going around in circles at a fast pace. And, we just had an election, We,
Sorry, we have to
right now,
Hang on.
We got problems raining.
election year.
Yeah, I want you to pick that up in just a second. Hang on.
We're
You rolling? Tell me about that.
We just had an election, and I guess we have a new president coming in January. And I don't like to see our country has gone to the dogs. I guess we've gone to the bushes right now. They asked me about the election before the voting day. I said, I'm not really a politician, but talking about quail, why, I'm from Oklahoma, and I know that quail usually hide in the bush. So maybe that's what happened. I don't know what happened, but what I'm getting at is this. We're easy to be critical of our president. When I first visited Washington, D.C. for the first time, I got to see the President of the United States, Harry S. Truman. I was supposed to be in there about 10 minutes, and I was in there 22 minutes, and I had a prayer with him before I left. It's one thing to criticize, one thing to present an alternative, something better. But those that criticize the president, I don't care who it is, without ever praying for them, what right do they have to be critical if you have a prayer interest in that person? So while I stood in that Oval Office, I suddenly realized that it's not really the individual alone that I pray for. I pray for the office that he represents. Every signature that he puts on a document represents me as a citizen for the good of our country. Why cannot I ask the great power of all powers, the Creator, to imbue his wisdom into the leader of our country and the leaders of other countries so that they might tolerate one another? And then when you hear about little countries fighting one another, then my heart goes out to those little boys and girls who were made orphans overnight. Who will take care of them? Who will love them? Who will feed them? Those are some of the things that I think about when I live. I live as part of the total of all living things, and I strive to, even in a little sweat lodge, I think about these things from way off, because that sweat lodge represents this tiny universe, and I sit in there and as I pray, I include a lot of things in the universe. And even the fire that we had, the trees, they have life-giving substance behind its bark, and they were being destroyed. And I even sent a prayer over there. It's going to take a long time to rebuild. And there are many, many things that, positive things that fills our whole day. Sometimes I see a drunken Indian passed out and lying in an alley downtown Albuquerque. As I pass by, I don't know who that person is, but I send a prayer that that life might not be totally lost, that something good within him might be salvaged, that one day he might learn to be a contributing factor rather than a drain on society. So things like that, I shoot out little love, little concern everywhere I go, in the airport, on the plane, wherever. I keep this in mind at all times.